Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is some very special coverage. We have the Mana Drain Open, and starting out with Joe on humans, Jet Volcanic into Young Pyromancer, getting things kicked off with a very aggressive start. On the other side, though, another aggressive deck, Bill on Shops, and he is opening up Ancient Tomb into Soul Ring, and that's going to get Mental Misstep. Few targets in the Workshop decks, generating a token and continuing the clock, and Joe also hitting a Monastery Mentor. We have a match slip incoming here. Bill taking a time to assess a very bad situation, following up with another Ancient Tomb, this time into Walking Ballista. And he will trade that in against that Mentor. Probe from Joe going to give him perfect information and another body. And it looks like he's going to see Wasteland. Well, it might be a Trinisphere proxy. Arcbound Ravager. So not a ton in the way of resistance here. And that mana base really proving to be a liability here for Bill. A lot of the time Ancient Tomb is just an incredible land versus decks that don't attack your life total aggressively, but this is exact opposite of that. Every point of life really matters. And we've got a Mishra's Workshop allowing for a Metamorph and an Arcbound Ravager. Looks like this is going to be out of here in short order. Jump blocking. The Pyromancer. That's going to do it. Locked out from his own mana base there. Joe going to the sideboard. One of the issues with shops, if there are any, is that everybody's certainly aware of it and prepared for it. So you're going to see kind of one boogeyman spot in Vintage at a time. In the past, that has been filled by Dredge. And right now, for a lot of people, that is being filled by Workshops, really making sure that they contort their deck, particularly their sideboard, to be able to face down the menace that is Workshops with its reusable Black Lotus. The card Mishra's Workshop really powering out all manner of threats and disruption, and is the backbone of the deck. Of course, that is supplemented by cards like Ancient Tomb, City of Traders, the power of the Moxes and Black Lotus, and in this case Soul Ring, though notably that's not actually in all the lists. People actually do attempt to dodge Mental Misstep and have legit 0 targets for it. You know what you think about that strategy in the comments. I myself am a fan of just running the most powerful cards possible. Well, when I am on shops, I will run Soul. Still going to see if he can force a game 3. Of course, his deck also very capable of making lots of tokens. He has Hangerback Walker in there. That guy can go very wide. And on the other side of that, you've got the Walking Ballista, which can get very large and go to the face. Kind of resurrecting a much older combo with the pretty much, not strictly worse, but certainly worse Triskelion. That was a combo back in the day with Ravager where you'd be able to essentially pump Triskelion to be just gigantic, smash face, and then, of course, throw all of those counters at the player. You can do the same with the Walking Ballista now with really just a couple of mana. You're able to get down both of those threats and then continue building the rest of your board. Create a very fast finish. So Shop's in an excellent place with recent printings, despite the kind of continual restrictions that we've seen. And we've got a Factory, Sapphire, Pearl, and a 3-mana, a little glare on there, I'm assuming Foundry Inspector. This is a mobile setup. There is 0-mana Soul Ring, confirming the theory. And now Sphere of Resistance coming down, which is a legit problem card for all of the blue decks. And that's going to get an Ancestral Recall from Joe and see if he can draw into that Force of Will. Or if his hand's going to be able to work with a sphere of resistance on board. Go with 3 cards, sphere coming down, and a quick clock here out of nowhere. The Mishra's Factory combined with Foundry Inspector is a 4-turn clock. Those cards seem innocent enough, but they are definitely putting Joe with his back up against the wall here, and a sphere is going to continue to apply pressure. Got a couple of fetch lands combined with that 5 damage to put Joe just 3 turns away from death. And Pithing Needle is a little bit of relief. That can slow down the Mishra's Factory. Reducing it to 3 damage at a time. An Arcbound Ravager and Lotus. So Bill has some pressure here. Not sure exactly what he's contemplating. He may be considering sacking a large portion of his board in order to ship over to the Foundry Inspector. So Pithing Needle perhaps not naming the factory. I'd be very interested to find out what that Pithing Needle named. Definitely didn't name Soul Ring, that just tapped. Go with his back up against the wall here. Looks like this is going to be lethal barring any type of bounce or Snapcaster. So a 3-mana Snapcaster. And that can attempt a chump block. Or at least attempt to trade. We'll see if any type of counters start flying around. Looks like there's going to be enough to ship over to the Arcbound Ravager for lethal. So Snapcaster valiantly standing in the way, however, not going to actually matter in the end. He lives and Joe dies. And we are on to game number 3 here. Tied up 1 apiece. Still a little bit clearer on exactly what he's facing. Joe did describe his deck as humans, Pyromancer, Snapcaster, Monastery Mentor. There are, in fact, a lot of humans in the deck. It is very capable of going wide around big threats. And we'll see what Bill's able to do here. It seems like Walking Ballista going to be a very strong card in this matchup. Angerback Walker as well, who can get the best board presence. Really, those Sphere of Resistance, Thorn of Amethyst, potentially Lodestone Golem if he's running that. Any of the sphere effects, really so damaging to the strategy of humans here trying to play all of those extra spells. Once they start going from 1 to 2 mana, they become so much worse. From a deck building theory perspective, all of those 1 mana spells just slot in perfectly around everything else that you're trying to do, making sure that you always have excellent use of your mana. And once they start costing 2, it really starts to become a square peg in a round hole situation where you have to choose in between one or the other. Either you're committing to the board or you're continuing to cantrip. And here we've got a Mishra's Workshop into Foundry Inspector, and that is going to grab a Swords to Plowshares from Joe. For those not used to playing against Foundry Inspector, that feels pretty awful. After all, the card does feel kind of the most fair out of all of the threats. But the more you play against these Shops decks, the more at peace you are with just dealing with that Foundry Inspector. Pithing Needle coming down preemptively here. And it looks like another workshop, so Bill gonna have all the mana in the world here for another Foundry Inspector. And we've got another Swords to Plowshares in response to his second spell. And an Arcbound Ravager. Gonna have to deduce what that other threat is. Got some serious glare in this first match. We did attempt to remedy that. This is a mobile setup, so it was not the easiest approach. And we've got Arcbound Ravager being sacked in response to yet another Swords to Plowshares. Of course, this time he sacrifices himself, chip over a modular counter, and more Ravager incoming. And Steel Overseer is the card. So Bill making the heads-up play of animating his land just to make sure he gets those extra counters. +1/+1 counters do stick around on lands even when they are not creatures. And Snapcaster Mage coming down, grabbing a Swords to Plowshares, keeping Joe in this game, and choosing not to block the man land. It would just be a chump block at this point. A fetch from Joe. Plenty of red mana here. We'll see if he has any spicy sideboard cards. Looks like a Fiery Confluence, perhaps? And this could be a very large Walking Ballista or Hangerback Walker. We'll see. Looks like a Hangerback Walker. And a dig through time here from Joe. Give him access to the best of his top 7. Format like Vintage, that is unbelievably powerful. Variance in between the power level of your mana sources compared to the actual gas is really huge as we get into the mid and late game. Jump block from Joe. Ruby. 4 mana. And another board wipe there. Fiery Confluence really pulling some serious weight here that we mostly just see in Legacy, really feeling quite at home here in Vintage. But even with as much removal as Joe's had, he still finds himself on the defensive here. He's going to need some type of threat and some type of way to build the board. Simply answering Shop's threats is not going to be enough. Eventually, you will be taken down, even if it's by Mishra's Factory. Yet again. Now, counterspells have come out. Force of Will, pitching Force. Bill playing right off the top of the deck. Plenty of mana. Anything he draws is going to be a substantial threat. Finally, Young Pyromancer for Joe. Wasteland is going to actually not cut off the Tundra. Not sure what happened. Gaussian response. Building tokens. Like Baby Jace. Prince Prodigy. That is going to allow him to loot. And when this guy flips, he's going to have access to quite a spicy graveyard. Even though that dig through time cleared some of the cards, he still has the best of the best left over. He's actually going to be able to treasure cruise here. Looking to continually add to his board position. Adding with these tokens. The clock is ticking. So at this point, in order to play defense, Joe's going to need to close this game out in short order. And he's going to be able to prevent Bill from kind of taking the board back from him. Tokens at their best when they're uncontested. A creature or two will really turn the tide. Bill's side. Losing tokens every time is definitely a problem. And here comes Lodestone Golem, the singleton. Likely to be too little too late. Towards the Plowshares. Gaining some life for Bill there. But at this point, Joe's essentially established a 3-turn clock. Possibly less. Very likely less. With help from Jace. There's Monastery Mentor. And this is officially completely out of hand for Bill. Like a flashback to dig through time, and that's going to do it right there. Not even going to make Joe pick the cards. And he takes it down on the back of some powerful card drawing and a team full of humans.
That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.